Hello and welcome to episode 11 of the Youth Australia podcast. We are back on Zoom.
Let's
we're here,
go. The
here
old
today,
Zoom calls.
back on Zoom. Oh dear, we're back in
Mm.
quarantine. Corona is back, unfortunately. We're in New South Wales, fortunately, so we're doing a little bit better. We're praying for all our poor friends and neighbours over in Victoria. But as always, we're here. I'm Joel. We've got Riley and Levi joining us today as well.
G'day. It's been a while since I've said that for an introduction. Let's go.
Yeah, I've kind of forgotten the introduction part the last few ones. That's
Hey, well, we back. We back.
we're back.
Never really had one, hey.
No, we
Mm.
sort of need to come up with a proper introduction, spiel.
We do, yeah.
Welcome to the Youth Australia podcast, where we bring the next generation together through podcasting.
Perfect.
That's
Copy
it.
paste that every episode.
Bang on the head.
I'm sure we'll come up with something better at some point. Announcement wise, there hasn't been much going on at the moment, as far as I know. Although Bible readings are still on the Youth Australia Discord.
They've been
Yeah.
so
Today
good.
at
They've
8
been so
o'clock.
good.
It's been a bit sporadic the last few days, unfortunately, but we'll get back into it. That's been a great time. So come and join us if you're interested. Link to the Discord will be in the description. All right. So a couple of weeks ago, we've been putting out messages to you guys asking for your questions, and we've received some great questions back. We've been answering them in the last few episodes, and it's been really awesome. We received a question a couple of weeks ago, which is, and this is from Gloria: what does a friendship mean to you, and what makes or breaks a friendship? So I'm excited to toss this out into the discussion circle and see what we talk about.
All right.
Yeah.
It's a bit hard to communicate now because now we're back to Zoom. We can't just
Yeah.
we can't just
Yeah.
like put each other's eyes and be like, okay, I know it.
Yeah. Well, I think so obviously we're all friends, right?
Hope so. Hope so.
Well, this Riley guy, I mean.
Oh.
Yeah.
So, we're all close friends. So I think, maybe we can first discuss between each other what makes our friendships work. Because we're obviously very different people with different interests and things, but we're all sort of come together and are really, really close. So maybe if we discuss what makes our friendships work first, and then we can talk about some other stuff.
I'll go first. I'm just going to step in now before we awkwardly stare.
Straight into it. Go for it.
I think what works for us in particular is that we have, I just want to point out, Riley and John never met each other before the podcast at all, face to face. Our joint love towards Christ and helping others in a godly way has put us together and made us a good friend, like a good friendship group even. It's our kind of connection between that and along the same lines of helping youth, helping anyone we can, sharing God's word, that made us kind of become closer together and form Youth Australia at that as well.
So,
And sorry, you can go if you like.
No, keep going.
Another thing is just common interest. Like, they don't always have to be like the exact same thing, but I kind of remember talking to Riley more and more after in class. We were on his computer or on my computer or something, and one of us looked at the computer and went, "Oh, we both have Minecraft," and we jumped on a Minecraft server together, and that's how we actually got talking a bit more. And from there came Youth Australia as well, because like we talked heaps so much more online. It's just like the small things. It doesn't have to be like major, like common interest. It's only the smaller things, I think.
Yeah, 100%.
Nice.
I'm just thinking for myself, I know with Riley and I, it's definitely a connection on sort of music and that side of things, and a shared love for film scores,
Mm.
and a certain few arguments about film scores, which keep coming up. But that's wonderful. And then you know, Levi and I, we went to school together, which was great. But I feel that yeah, we were fairly close, but like weren't like super hanging out. But then recently, just with our shared like passion for ministry and for working with people, you know, Youth Australia's come out. We've been doing some stuff back at school, and
Hey, I'm back at school, guys. Let's go.
and just with that, you know, I've really found an amazing friend with you, Levi, in that sort of shared interest in ministry, which has been incredible.
Definitely.
So it sounds like from what both of you guys are saying is that having common ground or common interests, common anything between two people is what helps build relationships and helps form stuff with that. And I suppose one key thing about that as well is you're not going to know if you have anything in common if you don't take the plunge. And I say that with like, you can know someone by just like saying hi to them every week if you see them, you know, at a sport you go to or at a place you work. You know, you can just know them by the name and how they look, or you can actually kind of go deeper and, you know, strike up a conversation with them and find out more about them, what their interests and dislikes are, if you have anything in common. I suppose that's just one of the key things that helps. But yeah, I suppose that's what I've got to add to that.
Yeah, I think that common interest thing is interesting. Like for like most of our lives, and this might be interesting if we sort of talk into what breaks a friendship. I mean, we're sort of at a period of our lives where we've moving beyond the school life and into sort of the adult life, as scary as that sounds. And I've certainly noticed that the dynamics of friendship have changed, and like that
100%,
that common interest thing is super important. But I think like oftentimes we're friends with people, say at school or stuff, we're just friends because we have that common environment, that common sort of place. I know there's people from past years at school that have left that I'm just no longer friends with. You know, we were fairly close at school, but, you know, just didn't really connect outside of that. And then, you know, there are people that I'm still really connected in. And I think part of that is not just a common interest, but a shared commitment to, you know, building relationship and friendship, and, you know, actually wanting to build relationship. And, you know, part of that is through, you know, doing stuff together. And, you know, I mean, for us, it's Youth Australia and, you know, various other things, but that's really helped.
Yeah, 100%. I find, just going back to the first part of what makes or breaks a friendship, sorry. So like we mentioned common grounds and everything, having common interests. Now some people might be at home going, that's not me and my friend at all. These people are whack. Yes, that is true. One of my best friends, we share very little common interest together. In like, we disagree with a lot of things. We have different just interests in general in what we do about our normal lives, but we're still really good friends. And sometimes I can't. We sit there. We go, "How are we friends?" Words cannot describe how different we are. But I still see them, like, you know, once a week, at least, and it's crazy that still happens, even though we've got little to no interest together.
What would you say has kept that friendship going?
I think so. We've been friends since probably around start of year 10. So that was quite a few years ago now. What, 2-3 years? Yeah, around there. And like at school, we weren't that close of friends, like, we'd be marking around in class together, that kind of thing. When they left the school at the end of year 10, mind you, very quickly, like, they didn't say anything. They just kind of said, the last day, I'm leaving, won't see you again. It kind of made me realize, oh, they're actually a really good friend. And we kept in touch that whole time. And, like, even if we didn't see each other for months on end, we'd keep in touch literally every day. So we sent a meme to each other every day for no good reason. Sometimes the memes are so lame and you wouldn't get any response. And some days you just get like 4 days in a row of not even replying, just sending a meme, no reaction whatsoever. And it just kind of works. And like, now that school's over, we get to hang out a bit more now. We go for a walk every now and then because can't do much else during these COVID times. But yeah, just there's no real reason the friendship should have worked, but it did. And it's kind of crazy. Friendships are very different. They're very interesting things.
It's interesting you talk about that because, like I said before, there's the common theme of common ground between people. But another point I was going to add later on, I'm glad you explained it first and talked about it, is that you can have friendships with not that much in common. So, for example, Joel and I, he mentioned earlier that we both love film compositions and music. That's something we have in common together. But we sometimes have disagreements and not arguments, but debates and discussions over certain composers and genres and stuff like that.
Always constructive.
Yeah.
You should hear these two go off. Like, it's crazy. I don't know what they're on about half the time.
But I reckon that's one of the key things as well. Even though we disagree on something, it is not because we're attacking the other person. We may disagree on something and that's completely fine because in that, we have valuable conversations. We learn more about, what the other person is talking about. And it doesn't, because this is the thing, some people with miscommon ground, they can take it the wrong way or see it differently. And it can become argumentative, it can become deconstructive, and then turn from a potential friendship, I suppose, to people that don't like each other very much because they disagree on things. I suppose it's important to, sure, if you disagree on something, that's fine, but I suppose don't take it to heart, or don't take it to heart, and don't take it personally, but rather look for opportunities to grow and learn through that, I suppose. Yeah, that'd be something I have to add.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Yeah, that's really great. Because disagreements don't necessarily have to be unhealthy. Like, they can actually be a really important part of, of the relationship, of the friendship. And I think part of that is it's just having empathy for the other person and, being able to put yourself in their shoes and see their side of things and what have you.
Yeah.
Like, it's actually something, like, for me, I really like being able to argue both sides of an argument, which is like gets really confusing sometimes because then it's like, okay, which side do I actually stand on? But it's like, it is a really good thing to be able to, have that understanding from a person that, even if they disagree with you, they're not attacking you. It's not a personal, slight if a friend doesn't agree with you on some things. It's people are different, and it's our differences that, when we come together, actually make us stronger and make us, more complete people.
Definitely,
yeah.
All right.
I think just first, coming back to the first part of that question, we just kind of talked about our friendship between us. So the first part was, what does friendship mean to you? I'll just like to go a little bit further in that. Now, to me, a friendship is, I don't know what the exact definition is. I'm not going to Google it either. but a friendship is someone you can just relax around and hang out with and just feel at ease while hanging out with them. And obviously that's not always the case. As we mentioned before, you can disagree with certain things. You may get into arguments. It happens. But those type of the people, like friendships, friends, are the type of people that you can kind of share if you're having problems with. Like I know these guys, if I'm having a problem or they're having a problem, we're going to go to each other and talk it through. Like we're not going to just go, oh yeah, I'm fine, and then isn't fine at all. Like, that's not how we do things. Those type of the friend, like those are the friends you want to look out for. Like those ones that you know you can trust and believe in, no matter what happens. That no matter where you are in life, you can rely on them. Those are the best kind of friendships. Yeah, I just want to add that in there.
Yeah, it's so good.
Do you have something to add, Joel?
Well, I was just gonna sort of take us in a different direction, if I may, because we've talked a lot about like what friendship means to us and sort of, you know, what we look for in friends and, you know, what we think makes a good friendship. But, you know, there does come times, unfortunately, when people have to, you know, take a step back. And so why don't we talk about what breaks a friendship? I don't know if we want to give some examples of when either we've lost a friendship or ended a friendship, or maybe. And
Yeah, I'll go there. I think I just want to first explain, just because they're your friends doesn't mean it's a healthy relationship with that friendship. Now, a lot of cases are people get into the wrong crowd through their friends. Peer pressure is a big thing, and it's not a positive thing at all. It's quite negative. As you're growing up, as you're in school, as you're making friends, you just need to be kind of wary if those are the people you want to set yourself around. Now, I think we've talked a bit about it before, but having like what you act like with your friends and your family, are they the same thing or are they not? Of course, they're going to be different, but I'm talking more of the sense of, would you swear and make inappropriate jokes around your friends but not your family? No, most likely, or maybe yes, we don't know. Setting yourself with the wrong crowd isn't always a great idea, and those type of the friends, it is probably smart to maybe try and find new friends. It's not a bad thing all the time. Like it's not always a bad thing to say, I'm done with this friendship. I'm gonna leave that aside now. Of course, that's not always the case. Sometimes you are really good friends, but I've learned coming out of school that you just kind of grow apart. Like life's busy after school. Things happen, work, college, university, whatever you're doing. It gets busy, and sometimes you can't always communicate that with those people. And sometimes it just doesn't work out at all. Like sometimes you might never talk to them again for no real reason, or maybe there is a reason you don't know. There's always just there's always something that happens, and you may lose a good friend. I one of my best friends from school, I only talk to him rarely now, and there's no reason to that. It's just we're really busy with doing other things, and we keep in touch still. We keep in touch, definitely. He's a great friend, but not half as much as he used to. It's definitely a complicated thing, friendship sometimes. But yeah.
Definitely understand that. One way I like to look at it is that friendships build against each other, or not against each other in that sense, but friendships build on each other. That's the word I'm looking for. And so your friendships are constantly pushing against each other in a positive way, building way, and building each other up together. If you have a friend that's constantly supporting, or if you're constantly supporting them and you're supporting them, but they're not supporting you back, then eventually you're going to fall in that friendship, if that makes sense. And
that's fantastic.
That's a really important thing as well, that friends look out for each other, they build each other up, they encourage each other. And it's important to realize when someone is, I suppose, doing all the work in the relationship and not getting anything back in return, because really it is 50-50 with relationships. You constantly have to give and receive all the time. And I was in one of those relationships for a little bit. It was a friend I met in school, and we were good friends. We'd hang out, we'd talk. It was great. And then obviously I'd keep encouraging them and talking to them, but they didn't really want to talk back to me for some of the time, or they were too busy hanging out with other people or doing other stuff. And then all of a sudden they'd be back and they'd want to talk to me and hang out with me, and then it'd be flicked off again and they didn't want to talk to me. It was very on off and it wasn't healthy. And it took me a while to realize at first, but yeah, it's important to notice that friendships build on each other and constantly support each other.
So what would you guys say are some like signs of this word gets thrown around a lot these days, but a toxic relationship?
I think, as Riley said before, if one person's doing all the work, it's not going to work out. As he said before, yeah, the support thing. Honestly, that was a great example. And I love it. And
That's
if you're
fantastic,
listening
yeah.
just to audio, he did this really cool kind of action that really helped me kind of visualize that a bit better. So if you want to, maybe if you didn't maybe understand it a bit, watch the YouTube video. It was actually amazing.
He had his hands sort of like in a triangle, kind of one side pushing against the other.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Two friends.
Everyone's on YouTube like, I know, I saw.
Yeah,
we love our audio only people as well.
Amen.
Yeah, so toxic relationships. If one person is doing all the work, it's not going to work out. If one side doesn't, like, sometimes you get those friendships where you don't always not only just agree with different things, but have complete different lifestyles to the point where it's not really a friendship. It's more of an argument every time you see them. Every time, like, you're constantly challenging them in their life, vice versa. They're challenging you. It's not going to work out as a good friendship, and it's definitely something that needs to be taken care of delicately. Yeah.
Yeah. Would you mind repeating the question again, Joel? I just want to hear it again.
What would you say are some signs of an unhealthy or toxic relationship?
Some signs. I would probably say if you don't look forward to seeing or meeting that person, or if you don't look forward to being around that person, or if you're, in a bunch of friends and they're there, or if, how else do I say this? I suppose if you feel pressured around them, or if you feel negative around them, I suppose. Again, talking about peer pressure before, and being in the wrong crowd sort of stuff. A sign of a toxic relationship would be, even if they're promising you to be their friend, or if you're following like them, like I was saying before, you need to build on each other. So if they're not building on each other, but one person is constantly leaning on the other, then it's not exactly the healthiest relationship, I'd say.
Sure. All right. So someone's gone, okay, yep, I've got a friend like that. I've got one of those relationships in my life. How do you cut that off? How do you end that?
Cool. Now that's a fun question, isn't it? Sometimes you don't need to always just cut it off. I think first explain. Now, some other definitions of toxic relationships are jealousy towards the other, and that affects the friendship. Communication through that might, not always, but might help benefit the relationship, the friendship, sorry.
Definitely.
And that's something you might not have gotten if you just cut off the friendship like that. On that though, it's not always going to fix the communication. We talked, everything's great now. It's not always going to be like that. And sometimes you do need to be pretty confronting towards that person, saying, hey, listen, this isn't on. We're meant to have a friendship here. Why are you doing this to me? What have I done? Just, it's not to the point of communication. It's confronting them, saying, hey, listen, what you did, something you did recently, I didn't agree with. It's been happening for a while. Something like that. And sometimes they might understand. They go, oh, wow, I'm so sorry. My bad. Others, they're not going to agree with you. And that might be a good time to cut off that friendship. It's perfectly fine if you leave a toxic friendship. It's something that it happens. It's life. Life's a confusing thing. And you can't always end up on top with life. I think everyone knows that. Our testimonies are like a couple of weeks, I think we kind of explained that a bit. It's something that you need to kind of just work through at your own pace. And sometimes you're not always going to have the right answer. You're not always going to do the right thing. But you still have to try if it's affecting you, both either physically, mentally, emotionally. Yeah.
Definitely. That's a really good point you make there about communication and not just drifting away from the problem, but actually confronting it and talking about it. It's definitely a really strong key there, strong point. I'd say also, if you feel pressured to stay in the relationship or the friendship, and if you feel afraid or scared about confronting it or leaving it, definitely don't be afraid at all to go see your parent or guardian or an adult that you trust, or some of the leaders at a church or youth group. I think it's definitely a wise choice and a good move to make if you're afraid or not sure what to do or how to confront it, because they really are some trustworthy people that you can talk to and definitely would have some good wisdom and advice on the situation. But that's what I'd have to say. If you feel pressured to leave, don't let it continue to consume you. But if you don't know how to act on it, then ask your parents or a trusted leader.
Yeah, I know that's from some of my own experience that in the past when some things haven't been good, I have had a tendency to just sort of drift away and cut it off and ghost people, as the saying is. And look, I'm having gone through that a few times. I don't think that's the best way. Obviously there is a point at which that becomes a necessary thing in certain relationships, but definitely a solid communication and is the best way to go if that's possible. And yeah, well, this has been a absolutely great conversation, guys. Is there anything quick that we want to add to it?
Yeah, I might just recap quickly. We kind of went a little bit around the place at the start and answered bits of the question.
That's great.
As we said, we find friendship through common interests, but that's not always the case. You will have friendships that just work, and there's no reason they should work, but they do. Now, I think that makes a friendship. What friendship means to us, it's something that we can rely on, depend on, know that person's there for us. That's what we want in a friend. And it's not always going to work out either. Sometimes friendships, they just die off. They don't go anywhere after school, especially. A lot of people, they lose friends. If you go into life knowing that, it's not going to help you in a sense of, oh yeah, I'm ready to lose my friends after school now. It's we just want to kind of brace you, knowing, hey, listen, it's all right that if you don't talk to some people anymore, it's not uncommon to lose friends.
Mm.
So I just wanted to recap that all quickly. But yeah,
That's really good.
And also just quickly on that last thing, just some encouragement. At least this is from my own experience. There's definitely a reduction of quantity of friends, but from my own experience and from what I've heard from various other people, quality goes up if you're willing to put the time and the energy. So I would say that at the moment, the friends that I would count as my closest friends, you guys among them, are the most solid, most, strong friends that I've had throughout my life, which is absolutely amazing. So yeah, thank you everybody for tuning into the Youth Australia podcast. As we said at this beginning, this question was sent to us by Gloria. If you would like to send us a question, please do so at any of our social medias, email, Discord. It'll all be down at the link in the descriptions. Make sure you subscribe to us. Sorry, Riley, that's your job. I forgot. Hit us with it.
That is okay. Don't forget to like and subscribe so that you can be updated for any future podcasts or videos that come out.
so good.
And if you're listening on audio, we also have this podcast up on YouTube as well, if you're interested in seeing our faces and watching some of the shenanigans we get up to. But yeah, thank you so much for joining us and having this conversation with us, guys. Really appreciate you tuning in every week. So we will say goodbye now, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Yeah.